Chapter 24 of Pee-wee Harris Adrift. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Pee-wee Harris Adrift by Percy Keese Fitzhugh. The Missionary lands on foreign shores. What Kiki Joe beheld caused him to rub his eyes and concentrate his gaze with more intensity than ever he had shown while at his official post. There, bumping against the shore, was somebody or other's grass plot with a tree on it and a little tent. The frightened natives who had witnessed the arrival of Columbus could not have been more astonished than Kiki Joe. He glanced out upon the river to see if any lawns or groves or backyards were floating around. Then his gaze returned to the miraculous scene before him. There was a small boy he had known in the morning, the rich kid, who had been willing to sit as sentinel on the fence. He was now sitting on an inverted ice cream freezer, and all about him on the grass were sandwiches, hundreds of them. The towers had fallen, and its ruins lay about Pee-wee's feet. A lantern hung in the tent, and through the opening Kiki Joe caught a glimpse of a board covered with spotless white cloth and piled with such things as he had seen in the windows of bakeries. The laden board looked as if a cyclone had struck it, but in a tumbled chaos his quick and startled glance could distinguish proud and lofty cakes rolled over on their brown or icy superstructures, and doughnuts looking indeed like the cannonballs, which might have laid low these beauteous edifices. Kiki Joe gazed upon the scene of mouth-watering ruin with eyes spellbound. Before him lay a miniature Pompeii buried under a kind of lava of whipped cream and custard and chicken salad, amid which toppled cakes and a frowning fortress of gingerbread lay sideways and upside down. Bananas and oranges and nuts and raisins and olives littered the scene of toothsome devastation. An empty square ice cream can, disinterred from its quiet grave of ice, lay upon the ground. Another was in Pee-wee's lap, and our hero was armed with a deadly spoon. "I know who you are," he said, as he annihilated the cocoa-nut macaroon. "You're the feller I saw this morning. Didn't I tell you if you got to be a scout, you'd have all you want to eat? Now you see." Kiki Joe did see, but he was too astounded to speak. He knew from experience that this strange race of scouts carried jawbreakers in their pockets, and that they had a deadly aim. But he had not supposed that they traveled in fairy barks which rivaled the windows of bakery shops in their sumptuous appointments. He had not pictured them as traveling on their pirate islands surrounded by mammoth icing cakes 5 stories high, and towers of chocolate. He had not fancied them sitting on ice cream freezers and tossing the emptied receptacles from them. Pee-wee had told his friend of the morning that they would both vote for Kiki Joe, and that Kiki Joe should be the patrol leader. If this was the way an ordinary scout traveled, what would be the proper equipment of a patrol leader? It staggered poor Kiki Joe just to think of this, and a scoutmaster. "Didn't I tell you how it was with scouts?" Pee-wee demanded. "Now you see." Kiki Joe rubbed his eyes to make sure he was awake, and scrutinized Pee-wee shrewdly. For our hero was somewhat disguised by a villainous moustache of chocolate which reached almost to his ear on one side and made him look like a pirate. "Do you like sardine sandwiches?" our hero asked at random, for he hardly knew what to use for bait amid such crowding variety. "I was stuck on the flats for over an hour, and then the tide took me off. It's coming in now. I'm going to stay on here all night and tomorrow and all next week. So do you want to join? Only you have to be a scout if you want to come here. There are 6 other fellers, but they're at the party. They said I wouldn't have any fun at the party because I can't dance, but I'm having more fun than any of them. I foiled them. They're all dancing, but they're good and hungry. Maybe they look happy, but they're not." "Do they all go round in them things?" Kiki Joe ventured to inquire. "No, but I'm lucky," said Pee-wee. It seemed to Kiki Joe that Pee-wee was very lucky. "I've got a best part of the party here," said Pee-wee, holding on to a tree alongshore to keep the island from drifting. "You better hurry up, because I can't hold it here. I can only hold it here about 7 seconds. Only you can't come on unless you join, because we need one more feller. So will you join? If you will, you can have all the ice cream you want, because I got a right to all these things." And there's cake goes with it, too. And everything. It includes chicken salad and sandwiches and everything. So will you join? I'm the boss of all these things. I am. You can ask Minerva Skybrow. I'm the boss of the olives and everything. Did you swipe them? Kiki Joe asked, looking furtively around as if he thought that Pee-wee might be shadowed while in possession of such boundless wealth. I got him on account of being lucky, Pee-wee said. I pulled a stick out of the ground, and it was a dandy mistake, so that shows you'd better stick to me, because I make lots of dandy mistakes. I make them every day. Sometimes I make 2 in one day. And I've got 9 ideas for next week, all these eats besides. You needn't be afraid to get on, he added, because it will drift up the river now, and it won't go past Bridgeboro on account of Waring's Reef. There's where I want it to stick, because if it sticks there, it'll stay there, you can bet. Come on, don't you be scared. Then, with sudden inspiration, he added, this is a peachy place to lay Kiki for cops, because you can see all around you, way off. And when all this food is gone, there'll be apples getting ripe on this tree. You won't have to speak for cores either, because you can have whole apples, all you want of them. That's what scouts do. They eat and they stay out all night, and they're wild, kind of. And they don't care what happens. And anyway, the ice cream is melting all the time, so will you join? Kiki Joe, still hesitating in profound astonishment, and a little fearful of the strange apparition when its presiding genius saw that, if he were going to act, he must act quickly, for though Pee-wee was king of the island, he seemed not able to govern its capricious fancy. Clutch the tree as he would, the gap between Scout and Hoodlum persistently widened. The island seemed bent on hurrying upon its wanton career. Kiki Joe, not altogether easy in his mind, still found it impossible to resist these enumerated benefits of scouting. Being wild and staying out all night, and eating and eating and eating forever and forever, under a profusion of blossoms which gave new promise, was too much for the sentinel of Barrel Alley to ignore. So he ran away to sea, as so many other boys had done before him, and sailed out upon the briny deep in the good bark merry-go-round. And he ate such a supper that night as he had never eaten in his life before. Pee-wee had already eaten his fill, but he wished to be companionable and make his guest feel at home, so he ate another supper with his new friend in accordance with the requirements of good manners. A scout is polite. End of chapter 24.